What is up, and welcome back to another episode of So There's That. I am your hostess, doing the mostest, Kivanshi, and we are here with the Gilded Age, Season 1, Episode 7, titled Irresistible Change. The director is Michael Engler. The writer is Julian Fellows. As y'all already know, he actually wrote the majority of Season 1. And the DP is Vanja Cernjul. So we just gonna jump right into some things before we get to my thoughts. This episode, it's the final episode before the finale. So each season has 8 episodes. However, something that came up in this episode is just reminding me of stuff that's happening today, and it's probably gonna ruffle some of y'all's feathers. And I know y'all like to tussle, but guess what? I fight. So it is what it is. As long as we keep it respectful in these comments, okay, we're gonna have a good time a little bit outside of the Gilded Age of it all. But this episode definitely sparked something that is a conversation that's happening now in 2025. So of course I'm gonna address it. But before we get there, let's just talk about some of the things that's happening here in Irresistible Change. So y'all already know George, aka Amtrak Daddy, Union Station is finally up and running, and it seems as though we're kind of skating a little bit on by with this whole 5 people dying in the last episode with the train derailing with the cheap parts. Now, the person who's trying to out him says that he has a handwritten letter, but of course he don't have the letter that it came in the mail, so we can't really verify that George actually wrote this and signed off on using cheap parts. But as we're already seeing in season 1, there are people that's out here just rooting for his downfall anyway, because the way that the words and stuff are written sounds like George. And again, I keep comparing season 1 to season 3 and how they parallel each other and how they look identical in storyline and in just themes and plots of it all. And George in the business, I mean, I guess nobody's friends, but just off rip, as George is climbing the business ladder, you have people out here that he feels that he had like a good rapport and stuff with, who are openly going behind his back and trying to sabotage his success. Why? In season 1, I'm really not sure. And honestly, I can even say in season 3, I was really that sure, other than like some incompetence, a failure to really look in and double check certain business transactions, reports, blueprints, etc. But it's just really given on the surface just super backstabby, and I guess that's what you go through in order to be on top. But George is working to try to fight through it, and he has Clay by his side. Now, it's really nice to see Clay and George kind of on the same page and on one accord in season 1, especially when we know that Clay may have ordered the hit on George in season 3. Um, but something that I'm noticing in their friendship and just about Clay's personality as well as George's personality, this feels like a classic case of when somebody be like, oh, could you date yourself or could you be friends with yourself? Clay and George, personality wise, are the same person, the exact same person. And so when you look at the level of ambition and the level of ruthlessness that Clay is willing to do behind George, and you have the knowledge now that he fired him for an oversight, and knowing that George is very quick to making very rash decisions that he don't talk to nobody about, he just does it on his own. I can already see like the crumbs being laid for how people don't like him. And so right now it's just like, okay, I don't know that George has necessarily done anything yet that has been shown on screen between, season 1, episode 1 and episode 7. But seeing the way that his personality is and how he interacts with people, how he talks to people, and how he feels that he can just bulldoze his way, into getting what he wants because he's just like, my idea is so good. And if you don't think my idea is good, then fuck you. I'm just going to buy you out and I'm going to take over. And it reminds me of one of the case studies that I did for my class last semester. It was titled like the Kitty Hawk case, but it was about some future technologies where it was kind of going into like the computer portion of it all versus like the gaming system and doing all these other things. And this company, actually, I'll use Xerox as an example. So, in case y'all don't know, Xerox actually was the first one to develop the parts and everything that's needed to really launch the internet, right? Um, but they were just so staunch in their own ideas of what Xerox can do and what they were doing on their own. And they're just like, no, like our technology is this, like, sure, this is a side effect of these other things, but that's not really going to last. And so they were so hell bent on their idea being so revolutionary that they never really took a step back to see the byproduct of their own successes. And so they were just singularly driven. And as we know, Xerox is like obsolete. Kodak was the same way. Like you were producing a lot of the technology to go into digital photography, but then you double down on just regular film and point and click and just going into places and still getting physical media. And Canon and Nikon basically rules it all, right? And so I look at George, and it's not that what he's saying is incorrect as it pertains to being able to connect, the United States at this time, and for people to be able to travel from one part of the country to the next. But his ruthlessness in him just being like, my way is the only way, my ideas are the only ideas that have space at the table. I can see how people are kind of just like rumbling and mumbling underneath their breath, maybe back at home, stuff that is not happening on camera, that would make a lot of people want to kill this man. And who's to say that there aren't people right now, even in season one? I have not seen the finale yet, but who's to say that even up until season three, that the death of the alderman wasn't the thing that came back to bite him in the end? We think it's Clay, right? Your right hand, and you turn on him at the drop of a dime. But I'm looking at everything in season one, and the men aren't necessarily liking you, bro. So could what has happened that we know of now going into season four been a result of the seeds and the behaviors that's happening right now in season one? So I'm definitely looking at it and looking at both of them with the evidence and just basically being like, George's karma seems to be one that is very patient, whereas Bertha's karma seems to be faster in that regard. But I don't know. Y'all tell me, y'all, I'm late to the party. But, like I said, I always felt like it was going to be very interesting going back to season one with the knowledge that I have in season three. And I'm actually kind of glad that I did that. I've not done this with any other show. I've not been compelled to do this with any other show. But it's just very interesting that I'm doing it this way with the Gilded Age. And I'm just like, I think all of my questions in season three are getting answered in season one. So y'all tell me. But speaking of George getting on everybody's nerves and just being like his way is the only way, Larry finally gets up the nerve to tell him that he wants to go into architecture. And lo and behold, George, Mr. Hypocrite, is holding tight to Larry in his own decisions about his life as a grown man and the career that he wants in society. The same way that he keeps getting on Bertha about Gladys. And so this comes back to me saying, like, there's just something in George that he only feels good and powerful when he is on equal footing with his wife. But the moment that he feels like she's doing better than him or that he's lost control, he blames her or he targets her unnecessarily, even though his angst and his inadequacies and insecurities are within himself. So it was real funny to me that here go Larry talking to him the way that Gladys be talking to her mama, and he was just like, bro, ain't no son of mine finna be doing none of this shit. Like, you already got a job. What you mean you want to use your own brain? You want to build your own things? No, you're in my shadow. Your name is Lawrence, okay? Lawrence Russell. You're not out here doing your own thing. And I was just like, this is crazy. This is crazy because you keep getting on Bertha about the very same fucking thing. But Larry can't come to you and just be like, hey, I want to make a name for myself. Again, it goes back to his own ambition. You are so full of yourself and your own dreams that you're not even stopping to see that your son doesn't necessarily want to walk in your own footsteps. He's not out here trying to be an Oscar. He's not out here trying to just mooch off his mama and his daddy's money. He's out here trying to do something to eventually raise his own family outside of the shadows of your name. But you're so arrogant and you're so full of the possibilities of your own success and the empire that you're trying to build that you're purposely putting your son in your shadows and putting him in shoes that he may never even be able to fill. And even if he could fill them, he does not want to fill them. So the passion and the way that he approaches the business aspect of it all won't even be the same. This how y'all end up with kids who sell y'all fucking business when you die because they don't want to do none of that shit in the first place. You failed to let them go off and spread their wings, cultivate their own passions, and or even find out that the thing that they thought they was passionate about, they don't want to do, and then they end up coming back home on their own. So he has just as tight a leash on Larry as he does, as Bertha does on Gladys. Like, so what kind of man is he supposed to be when he's trying to choose a wife? The man that still be following under his daddy, even though he got his own household? That don't make no sense. Who's married to this girl, him or you? Like, I'm gonna need you to cut that umbilical cord too, because it's not making any sense at this point. And y'all know how I feel about George. I'm just, I'm not Team George as an individual. I love him and Bertha as husband and wife, but as a man, I don't fuck with George. Like, I think it's been apparent that I don't fuck with him. And he just has a lot of shadow work to do. During that time, they don't know what shadow work is. They have no idea what the fuck that is. But I just feel like he needs to reach within himself. Okay. And he needs to get his head out of his own ass so that he can, hear and see all the things that's going on around him and realize that he is the root of all of his problems. That's all I'm saying. Speaking of people with problems and doing everything but minding their own business, Agnes is hell bent on Bertha firing Enid, aka Miss Turner, because what's that lady name? What's that hater name? Mrs. Armstrong told her about seeing Enid and Oscar together. Now, this is a fun little storyline that kind of blends the main people of the house with the servants of each of the houses, because the big question in this episode is who snitched on Bannister. So you have snitching as the blanket and the dark cloud of the episode. And so Agnes wants Marian to go to Bertha to tell Bertha to fire Enid because she saw Enid with Oscar and she feels like it's done for some nefarious reasons and they shouldn't be cross-pollinating, for the lack of a better word. But then Bertha wasn't going to fire her because of that, because she's just like, okay, my good sis can see whoever she wants. Like, that ain't got nothing to do with me. But then she saw Enid talking to Larry and then touched Larry on her arm and then she walked off. So now Bertha is just like, Enid, I'm gonna need you to leave. Like, I think we had enough. But then Enid's like, bitch, why am I fired? So then she goes to George and she's like, bruh, did you tell your wife about us? And that's why I'm out on the streets. So like everything is kind of surrounding Enid, and Enid got fired, but everybody's kind of holding on to their own secrets on what the reason is. Then it still gets back to Bannister, that Enid got fired. So of course Bannister is just like, this gotta be the girl that told on me. Like, she snitched. And so I kind of love like the comedic factor and like the who done it and the clue and the guess who of it all as it comes to that storyline, because Bertha hasn't a clue that that woman laid in her husband's bed, butt ass naked, snatched, unkempt, ungroomed, okay? And she had her finest oils. I'm taking her milk bath, and she don't know. And so everybody just kind of like has their own ideas of what's really going on. And I'm very curious as to if this secret is going to come out in season 1 or if it's going to come out in season 2. And I promise y'all, I don't do no Googles. I post these episodes on Sundays. I find little snippets on YouTube. I post a couple of clips from my own videos on Sundays and put them in there. I don't look at nothing else. I don't look up nothing. The fact that I'm even keeping this spoiler free for myself says a lot. I post and that's it. I come back, sit down Saturday night or Friday night, and I record and I just see what I see. I have no idea what's happening. And honestly, that's the best part of it all. But speaking of that, Marian and Mr. Rakes. So I want to park here for a little bit because I'm on Agnes's side. I am so confused on the timeline of these things because Mrs. Chamberlain, she held up her promise of telling Marian, hey girl, if you really want to get to know this man, you want to get some one-on-one time without your auntie breathing down your neck, you can always use my place. It is what it is. And so they meet there, they're talking, they're conversing, and he's just like, fuck your aunties, girl. And she's like, well, can't do that because they give me my entire paycheck and provide for my entire livelihood. But, that was cute. Thank you. Very chivalrous. And he's like, we're in love and we love each other. And so let's just run away and get married. And I'm like, it's been 2 weeks. What is a fortnight? 14 days? It's been 2 to 3 weeks. But we are so in love that you should defy the people that give you a roof over your head and gowns on your back for some man that you met when your daddy died. This don't make no sense to me. I'm gonna need somebody to explain the timelines to me and the passage of time within the show because it's giving love bombing. Okay, it's giving. I need this girl to make a stupid fucking decision behind me and my potential, even though I don't have shit going on concrete with my life. And to further that, right, I also wonder if Bertha is kind of playing some game with Marian because up until this point, she's been kind to her, she's been welcoming to her into her house, all these other things. But uh McAllister invites Bertha out because they're doing a lighting ceremony because Thomas Edison has found a way to, produce electricity in mass across, you know, the states or whatever. And just honestly, ComEd was invented. Um, and she's setting the places of like and stuff like that. And she's talking with Marian when Marian brings up the whole Enid of it all. And she was like, well, Aurora is bringing one of her friends. If she wasn't bringing her, I would invite you, but I need another man. Don't you think Mr. Race can come? And it's like, that this girl like Mr. Race, and you know that he's sweet on her. So why would you ask her to ask her suitor to go to a spot to be the date of a single bitch? Okay. And so we're sitting out there and everything's supposed to be in awe, whatever. And the girl is talking to Mr. Rex, and she's like, "Oh my God, you need to come to Newport. Let me know when you're in town so I can show you around." And she's doing the whole fucking rich fake laugh, putting her hands on his chest or whatever. He's like, "Of course." So Aurora's peeping this shit, and she's just like, "Motherfucker, I know you know that Marian is my cousin, and you doing this shit in my face." And so I feel like at this point, it's innocent with Mr. Rakes because he was thrown off when she first was like saying stuff, but it seems like he's just trying to be kind and just have conversation while everything is going on. But Aurora's like, Auntie Agnes might be right. This man might be a rolling stone. The peen might be stone hopping across many ponds, and I can't have my sister like going through that. So I definitely feel like Aurora is going to tell Marian what happened. Um, and I don't know. Aside from all of that, I just feel like the whole 2 to 3 weeks we in love, defy a whole family, and marry me is a stupid fucking idea in the first place. So aside from this and him maybe even playing her or whatever, she should be done with him in general. Like, that's weird. It's too fast, even for that timeline of like courting and everything like that. Like, because why are you never home? Don't you got bills to pay? Don't you have a job? Why are you always here? I'm so confused. So confused. But I'm gonna need Marian to let that go. And when she go back to Aunt Agnes, Agnes was like, "I'm never wrong." And when she realized that this motherfucker playing her, she'll be back. It is what it is. But Marian, she doesn't sneak off. She doesn't go to Times Square. She follows orders, and it seems as though she's trying to trust the universe. But Mrs. Chamberlain gave her some of the best advice I've heard in this whole fucking series. I mean, well, I've only seen season 3. But she told her and Mr. Rakes, "Listen, I know y'all know my story. Yes, I got with my husband and got pregnant while he was still married to some other girl. Okay. But we was actually in love, and it was worth it. I'm going to tell y'all, you need to figure out if you really love each other. Because going up against society is cute and all when you have one another, but when one of you are gone and society is the only thing that you have, will it be worth it when they shun you until you die?" My love was worth it. My man was worth it. And I'm okay. I got my art pieces, and I still go out to places, and I still got me a couple of friends. But it meant something. Does this mean something to the both of you? And that is extremely important because you got to think like social acceptance, and social validation during this time. It's the end all be all for a woman. You ain't got no job, you ain't got no hobbies, you can't do shit. And where they are on Fifth Ave, 61st Street, or whatever, women got to walk outside with an escort or a man anyway. So while you are restricted by law, your reputation is based on how people think about you in society. So if you're going to run off and turn away from the family that you know, the support system, the community, the village that you have, when that person is gone, will those people still be there when you come back, when you need them? Because you're going to probably always need them, right? Um, and I felt that that was very important for Marian to hear, because when she's with Peggy and when she's with Ada, it seems that she gets a little bit more clarity about this man. But when she with him, she is fucking stupid. It's like his pheromones just be clouding her damn brain. And she's lost in this cloud and in this space. And he does a really good job at maintaining physical touch. Their foreheads will touch, their arms are touched. He isolates her. He gets her in spaces where it's just the two of them, and it feels like it's the two of them against the world. But baby girl, what if you get pregnant and you need help You ain't never been no mom. You don't know what you're doing. What if you got, I don't know what they called it back then, but you got postpartum. Is he gonna help you? No. So definitely that's some advice from the 1800s till now. Y'all need to be weighing the options on if these men are worth the distress and the ostracization that you are potentially putting yourself in behind them. So think about it. Think about it, babes. Think about it. Um, and so just like with the whole episode, like it says, it talks about like irresistible change. And in this, we are just really looking at like a state of transition, right? You got Enid, she's getting fired. Bannister still ain't back in Agnes's good graces. Agnes sent a letter to Bertha saying thank you, but she wanted Peggy to make it cold. And then, of course, you have the precipice of just invention of it all. And so it's like, okay, are these the layers? Are we just looking at something like ice cracking? Because nothing major happened this episode at all. But it could be like being on a skating rink where everybody's skating, but there's like little cracks going on and nobody really knows what's going on. I'm very curious about how that entire thing is going to cave in the finale of season 1 next week. So there's that, guys. What are my thoughts? Okay, I have a couple of thoughts. Let me look at my notes because I feel like I already talked about some things. Okay, 2 thoughts because everything else I already talked about. What season is it in this show? Because I was just sitting here, and so when I shower and stuff, as soon as I get out, I need the AC up. My body temperature be so hot. I already sit at 99 degrees. When I get out of the shower, my body be at a solid 100 degrees. Like it be so hot. So I started watching this episode when I got out of the shower, and I'm like, they all have on long sleeves and draperies and gowns and quilts and sheets and blankets. And I'm just like, oh my God, it's so fucking hot. And it's so funny because somebody erroneously got on my channel when I was doing season 3 recaps and just posting shorts and stuff. And it was an interview with Christine Baranski, and they were just saying, like, what's something that you would bring from the 1800s to today? And she just said, like, table etiquette or whatever. And somebody got in the comments and was like, women putting back on clothes and stuff like that. Like, first and foremost, we don't police bodies over here. We do not tell women what to do over here. They can do whatever the fuck they want with their bodies. It's theirs. But I was looking at it because I'm just like, you talking about women dressed in modesty, second, third. Baby, how many heat strokes did the doctors treat in the 1800s? Because no, ma'am. No, ma'am. All that real silk, that real lace, real tweed. Like, we talk about fast fashion, and honestly, fast fashion is kind of like, okay. This ain't that type of channel, but I'm just saying, right? So, we talk about it, we talk about the earth, we talk about pollution, we talk about all these other things. There just has to be a better way to get real materials and make it breathable. Like, my parts need to breathe. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It needs to breathe. So I just, for some reason, all of the other episodes, I'm just like, wow, beautiful gowns. Look at the cinching on that. Love the patterns. Oh, look at the frills on her neck. And I watched this out of the shower and I was like, oh my God, can they please go to bed and just be in a fucking nightgown? Can they just put on a slip? Like, was deodorant in there? Baby powder? Something. It had to be rank under there. Like, they wasn't washing for real. They wasn't washing for real. And we know the history of So my final thought is what I was alluding to at the beginning of this podcast episode. And it's the invention of electricity and really making it accessible in mass. So there's two parts to this, and the one part is racial, but I'm not gonna hit on it too much because we kind of already know that, and I live in this country. I know the history of my people in this country. Like every time a natural disaster happens, we already know which neighborhoods get responded to first, which ones get abandoned. But I thought that it was very nice for Peggy to mention to Mr. Fortune, I wonder how long it's going to take to get to the colored neighborhood. And I felt like this was such a very important question. I'm so glad that it made it into the final editing process. I hope that it was fought for because we are on the precipice in this episode of major change, right? We're not looking at people manually going to turn on an oil lamp and turn it off and do all these other things. We're talking a switch that's going to change people's lives, and not just like bringing light, but all the other things that electricity has, even to today, being able to charge small and big devices, right? And so I just love that the question was posed in this season at the edifice. What word am I looking for? This is the Oedipus, not the Oedipus complex. What the fuck am I talking about? What word am I looking for, y'all? What word am I looking for? Precipice. Oh my God. This will happen when you drink before you get on podcast. At the precipice of change. And so I love that this question was asked because it just really foreshadows where Peggy ends up when we're talking about, even she said, I think in the last episode, why should I be involved in any type of politics, whether it be a Republican or a Democrat, when I don't even have a vote? I don't even have a say in it. You don't even consider me, but you want me to rally behind y'all for some shit that's never going to reach me, or it's going to reach me last. And when it does reach me, it's going to be um less, what's the word, like the quality is going to be less, you know what I mean? And so just what Peggy and who she represents is just really important in this. Now the other side of it, I just want to talk about AI real quick. And not anything too crazy, but it's so funny when I see like the arguments and stuff of AI. I don't participate in it. I said like a couple of things on Twitter before, not necessarily for or against it, but just stating a veritable fact that the introduction of AI is no different than any type of technological advance that has happened since the dawn of time. And when you watch this episode and they hit the light switch and all these buildings start lighting up, you got all of these people in Times Square, right? And they're just like, oh my fucking God. Even McAllister was like, everything, this is going to change the course of history right now. This was something that was never done before. Agnes was afraid of it. You had other people that were afraid of it. Even Bannister was saying how some of his people, they were going to be out of a job because if there's electricity, then who and why do we need you to go turn on and off an oil lamp? People were getting paid to go out into these streets to turn on street lights. But now we have electricity. We can hit a switch. We can put it on a timer or whatever. You don't need those people anymore. And so when you think about conversations now where we talk about computers, when we talk about artificial intelligence, not just in the AI, chat, GPT, entertainment industry of it all, but even the conversation that was happening in the early 2000s and in the mid 2000s, maybe some of y'all wasn't alive at this time, but when they first started building the robots, when we first started really getting into heavy machinery that were replacing human jobs, these are the same conversations, the same fears, and the same hopes for making the human life easier that has been happening since a motherfucker banged two rocks together and two sticks and made some fucking fire. Since the wheel was invented, like this is the thing. And I just love that I saw this in this episode because again, going back to like AI and just that's the recent conversation. That's what I'm going to talk about. It's just like it's new. And for some reason, new apparently equals scary. And nobody's really taking the opportunity to learn and understand and research and do all the things necessary to see what it does. Not just the bad of what it does, but the good of what it does, right? Um, and when you look at something that we take for granted these days as turning on a goddamn light switch, right? But you look at this episode and they're just like, what are we going to do now? No one man should be able to control all of these other things, and what's going to happen, and what does this mean, and all this other stuff. It's the same conversation. I just thought like it was beautifully done. I don't The Gilded Age introduces a lot of historical things, and integrates it within the story that we're telling, and some of the stories do mimic real people's lives and the stuff that was going on in that time frame, and so I really love it. But I do wonder if the fear that's happening these days of the advancements of facial recognition, AI, and just everything that's happening with our devices, if that was also done purposely with the dialogue surrounding it about people losing their jobs and one person having this power, all puns intended, and where does that leave the rest of us, and how does this work, and will the rest of us be able to benefit from this? What are the downsides to this as well, and again, it's just a cycle of life. Like, it's the cycle of life, and just taking an objective view to it, it's just like, you're gonna be dead. And I don't even like talking about that, but it's just like all of those people in this episode that have all of these fears and all these other things and what's gonna happen and all these other things, like when it became what it is today, they were no longer here. When AI becomes what whomever invented it wants it to be, like, we're not gonna be here. It's not, since you know you're not gonna be here, then you should just focus on yourself, focus on the things that you can control, and you know, don't abandon your values and your beliefs and things like that. But let's just think. I wasn't really trying to turn it into anything like that, but I'm just saying, like, how you feel is not a phenomena, and it's not unique. And I like that in the Gilded Age, it's just showing a repetition of history, a repetition of feelings, and it just shows us that it's very few people on this planet that are unique, that are inventive, that are all these other things. But the human experience, that is the thing that connects us, and that's the thing that makes us the same across races, culture, language, heritage, region, whatever. Like, what we feel and how we feel gets recycled. And if we can just accept that, regardless of what we look like differently and stuff like that, if we just accept that the human experience is still one that we all experience, that is the same, then everybody can get along. Everybody can get along, right? Your daily may not be the exact same, but these emotions are not new, babes. They're not new. Um, I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about right now. The Gilded Age, season 1, episode 7, Irresistible Change. Well, I guess that makes sense why I ended on that, because I mean, change, man. The world's changing. The world's changing, y'all. The Gilded Age, they're at a change right now. These fucking lights, okay. And speaking of lights, I'm ready to turn all of these off and go to bed. So with that, I'm going to wrap up today's episode. I hope my hair didn't rise too much. I haven't seen it or felt it in 2 months. Okay. As always, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave comments in the comments box below. If you got people that only want to listen to me, make sure you share the Spotify and the Apple Podcast link. You can find me on Instagram at So There's That Podcast, where I post film and TV news and updates. And Instagram is now going to be an extension. Still going to have its own individual post, but it's also going to be an extension of different articles, full written reviews of certain things. I know there's a lot of people that just like to read the articles, see the picture, see the trailer, all in a one-stop shop. We are expanding our brand. Okay, we're getting into that journalism aspect of it all, because I'm aware that my audience is very diverse and not everybody likes to receive it in this platform. Everybody has their different ways of receiving and learning, and I just want to make sure that I reach y'all as best as I can. And with that, if you got people that want to see me on TikTok, go ahead and follow me over there at Kiwanchi, where I post short form review and content on shows that I do not cover on the podcast. You can also find me over on Twitter at Kivanchi, where I'm just talking about shows that I'm watching. It ain't got nothing to do with all the reviews. It's just me sitting on my couch, doing my hair, taking my hair down, and just watching some shows. And before I get out of here, y'all, I was in the middle of taking my braids down when I found out that 1,000 of you motherfuckers hit the subscribe button. Okay. Now, did all of y'all hit the notification bell? Probably not. But 1,000 of y'all said, hey, this girl that sits on here and talks all fucking day by herself, I think I want to tune in. Thank you so much. I think at the time of me recording this video, it's like 1,004. I don't have any words, and as much as I sit here and talk about these fucking shows, I'm terrible at speeches. I'm terrible at receiving compliments and just kind of receiving like, y'all, like people are listening to me. But thank you so much for tuning in, for telling a friend, telling a family. I appreciate it. I do this by myself. I set my own schedule. Sometimes I'm up at 3 a.m. to do something. Sometimes I'm going to bed at 3 a.m. because I just finished doing something with a full-time job, doing this full-time, managing multiple social platforms, and just adding even just the journalistic element and doing real written reviews, article reviews, on top of getting my master's, and just in life and making time for the people that I love. To do this by myself as a singular human being with technical difficulties. I've been on here when I've had the flu. There's a whole episode of me crying. I wasn't crying because I personally was sad. The episode had me bawling my eyes out. It's just really rewarding. Like I say, I do this because I love it. It's my passion. Yeah, I'm not getting paid for this. Ain't nobody paying me to do nothing. I am just lucky enough to have the opportunity to be able to preview content for my audiences and to screen things and give y'all my thoughts and ideas. I enjoy sitting down here episodically with you all to talk about it. And experience things with you real time. TikTok is where I kind of watch everything at once and then I do like a full review. On my podcast, I like to watch it like a day before y'all get to see it, so we can experience all of these emotions together, because I'm just passionate about talking about film and television. So thank you so much. This is crazy. This is crazy. And we're also almost at 1 million channel views in the last 365 days. Like, I don't even know what's happening right now. And I can't even really celebrate because I'm waiting for this semester to be over with. I got one final presentation and a final exam coming up in 2 weeks. I can't even focus. But in the second half of my fall class, I only got one class. But I'm gonna find a way to celebrate. Maybe I can figure out something to celebrate on the channel. I'm not sure. Maybe a live. I don't know. I don't really like lives. Ugh. So I'm boring. I'm boring, y'all. I'm boring as fuck. But thank you. I can't thank you enough. And it is 12:56. Telling y'all, like, I'm here because I want to. And I like y'all and I like talking to y'all in my comments. So It's 12:56. I'm signing off. And with that, I'm going to catch y'all in the next podcast episode.